It's DorkShelf.com. You're now rocking with TDF Everything. Spoiled Rotten.
Spoiler alert.
Welcome back, everybody.
Season 3.
It's actually, I think it's 4.
Is it really 4? Oh
yeah. We've been doing it.
We've been running it, and we love it. And thank you to our new home.
Yeah, Dork Shelf. DorkShelf.com has picked us up. So you'll get all the fun of the first 3 seasons, but just with some people behind it.
Yeah,
being like,
that's
hey,
right.
we like this too.
Yeah.
Also, good news for you, Ben. We are actually in 2018. I feel like the last episode you kept saying 2018.
You know what it was? I realized the funniest thing is I'm so proud of myself for 2018 never having written 2017, crossed it out to make the 8. But I realized the last month of 2017, I was so ready for it to be done that I just started making that forward mistake. And I looked back at some of my work stuff and I started dating at 2018.
Fair
already.
enough. There we go.
It's either way, we're happy to be here. It's a new year. Right now, for our Asian audience, it is Lunar New Year, so happy Lunar New Year to everyone. But what we're here to talk about today is obviously Black Panther is the entree. But first, we're going to talk about some of the trailers that came out over the winter break that we have. And
we're not going to get into everything because we don't want to get bogged down. I think, what did we say? Ant-Man, Wasp.
Ant-Man, Wasp,
Venom,
Deadpool, Venom for sure we got to talk about, and the Solo trailer. Is definitely something we need to talk about. But yeah, we're looking good. So thank you to our new home on Dork Shelf. We're going to be seeing a lot more people, we're
going to
talking
be
to a lot more
listened to by a lot more people.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's start with Solo.
Solo,
It's the least Marvel thing. Still Disney, but
still very much Disney. I gotta say, man, being a huge Star Wars fan, I'm not terribly. It didn't grab me. It just didn't grab me on this one. I was like, okay, yeah, I see what they're doing with this. This doesn't seem offensive. It doesn't seem great to me, but it's just middle of the road. That's how I feel about it.
What? Because I thought this was a no-win situation for them. Because like no one. I honestly thought people would like to see a Han Solo movie, but I guess the idea is that it's hard because it's just going to be a different actor.
I just feel like it's too soon after the fact of, Han Solo, Harrison Ford dying on screen. It was like too soon after the fact. It's almost like a "how dare you" moment.
Like they could have done a Lando Calrissian movie.
I feel like if they had done a Lando movie with Han as a cameo, that would have been way better. And then the sequel to that, when everyone's ready, then it would have been a Han and Lando and Chewie like thing where because
honestly, like I just like the character Han Solo, and I just was like, yeah, I'd watch that. I don't care, but I obviously the internet was not for it. And then when they said Lord and Miller, well, I guess that kind of all was presented at the same time. Lord and Miller doing Han Solo. I was like, yeah, I like everything Lord and Miller do legitimately. So I was all down for that, and we've talked about this, that they just didn't work out.
The behind-the-scenes
stuff,
it's too
no
messy.
blame going one way or the other. It just didn't work out.
It's also the idea that the marketing didn't start until the Super Bowl. And that was just crazy to me. Like, usually we're seeing some sort of material, some sort of posters, like 6 months out.
So the problem they have is that they didn't move it to December. Because what we're used to is they don't promote something until after the last one has kind of like gone out of theaters.
Absolutely.
So you can do that like for Force Awakens and Rogue One because there's actually a year in between them.
Absolutely.
But if there is only 6 months in between Last Jedi and Solo, they're kind of in a bind.
Yeah, they're definitely in a bind from that perspective. And of course, if you launch a trailer in January, I mean, it's not really going to take off that much because January is kind of like a dead zone for
Super
all
Bowl was
stuff.
as
Super
good a
Bowl
time
was
as
the most
any.
appropriate time to launch it. I will agree with that.
I don't know. I don't think it'll be a horrible movie, but I don't know what they could have done because it just seemed like they didn't want to have fun with it.
No.
Is basically what I got out of what the changes were. They wanted to make sure they hit everything they needed to hit and didn't want to get too far away or wacky, which is fine. Maybe that means that we'll get a more focused movie and not get like a 23 Jump Street or something. Because I know people didn't like 22 Jump Street. I did, but like
I enjoyed it for the sake of this is I'm not really looking for Oscar material here. I'm looking for something a stoner comedy would deliver, and that's exactly
maybe they didn't want that. I do think that Lord and Miller are bigger than just stoner comedy, but I can see, based on what I don't know how to say that guy's name, man. Alden Ehrenreich. Sure.
Aldrin.
Yeah, it's whatever. That guy basically made it seem like they were trying to make Ace Ventura. So
yeah,
if that doesn't they would have got bit in the ass for that too. So
you know
can't.
What? I actually really appreciate his vocalization of that concern because of the fact that to me. It really depends on what kind of Han Solo they're going for, in the sense where, to me, Han is always the one that shot first, not Greedo shooting first. So that ruthlessness, I want to see this Han get up to that level of ruthlessness through his experience with Lando, distrust and all that kind of stuff, because we know Lando's going to be a swindler. He's going to be a slimy kind of guy. He may kind of do a double cross throughout this movie. We don't know, but it's going to be very, very interesting to see how he develops that distrust of everything and then just like gangsters it up all the way. But right now, what we do know is Disney is still a family brand, and whether or not they're going to get to that level of ruthlessness on camera is kind of don't think it's going to happen. You know, that's why it's concerning to me.
They're a family then, but they also make The Punisher and like Jessica Jones, which is decidedly not family.
Absolutely.
So I don't know that I see everyone being like, "Oh, what's going to happen when Disney?" But like they've been doing this for years.
Yep.
Like Miramax was part of Disney. Like they know how to like compartmentalize. So that part I'm not worried about. I just think that it's Kathleen Kennedy that wants a specific thing that may not be that interesting.
Right.
I don't know that this is a Disney thing. I think this is like there is a very specific view of what Han Solo should be.
Right.
And it's hard if that actor isn't like Harrison Ford to bring that across. I think that's what people are reacting to in the trailer, which I don't think is fair, but I think that is a part of not your negativity, what I see online.
Yeah. I agree with that. I don't feel like if he was like Harrison Ford, I would be severely disappointed because all you're doing is mimicking something as
like
opposed
an
to
SNL
like as an actor interpreting, hey, you know what? How did my character get here? Because this is set 20 years before A New Hope or something, for example. I don't know
it's probably set like 20 months before.
Exactly, right? So it's just like, so for him to be like, okay, we're going to be a little bit coy, we're going to be a little bit cocky, we're going to do all these things that is inherent to Han Solo's character, but at the same time muted, so to get us to A New Hope, which is the Han Solo that everyone knows and loves, or at least the one I know from the original trilogy, that makes so much more sense to me. And the little nuances, like even that last bit of dialogue in that trailer where he's like, see, told you we're fine. Yeah. We're fine. Like, that's a Han thing where he just like, screws up and then magically lucks out and everything goes his way. And then he's like, yeah, see, I told you. And then takes credit for it. Like, that's totally a Han thing to do. Like, that was a great thing. I don't know why people are coming down on him for that.
Anything that's coming down on the actor, I don't understand.
I don't understand at all.
I think of myself as a Han Solo fan, but clearly I'm not, because people are even down on his haircut, and I'm just like,
you know what?
That was never really a part of it. Like visually, I get that, but like, I'm not gonna knock someone for not having the exact hair. And for me, like that's not what I like about Han Solo. I don't care.
This is why,
like he could be bald in this, and as long as he was like as cool as I remember Han Solo, I'd be like, fine.
And I'm like, wouldn't it make more sense if he was bald for it to have a military haircut from the Imperial state?
Sure,
that's exactly what he was like. He's trying.
I'm just saying, like I get what they were doing with his look, and it was when I saw his haircut that I was like, oh, I get why he got the role.
Yeah. Of all things, the last thing I'm going to complain about is his hair. Either way, that's the Han Solo trailer.
So, was there anything you liked about it?
You know what? I didn't really fully appreciate the visuals until I saw it put in front of Black Panther, because it was especially
that was one of the trailers I saw. I knew there had to be something else. So
I didn't appreciate the visuals as much until that point, because especially that first couple of shots where they're like he's racing through whatever street or everything like that, impressing a girl, like that to me was like, okay, these shots are really, really good. I didn't get that sense when I watched the trailer online or anything like that. And like I said, like this is probably the only Star Wars movie that I'm so biased towards. I'm not interested in or excited for, because even like everyone was bamboozled with Phantom Menace, the episode 1. We always like, we're getting Star Wars again. We're excited for this. This is going to be awesome. And then you like watch it. And I remember my first time watching it. It was like, wait, I'm confused. Did that suck? And then
I honestly didn't think it sucked until I got it home on video and was like, oh, I just don't care to watch this anymore.
And that's exactly
in the
it.
theater. I was like, yeah, I like this. This is
I
fine.
rewatched it. I'm like, yeah, Darth Maul, this is cool. But I'm like, the only thing I like is Darth Maul behind this. This sucked. This is not cool. But hopefully I'm wrong. At the same time, I feel like this is a movie where I'm going to be extremely right. Anyways, so I think that's Solo in a nutshell. Moderately enthusiastic about it.
So next, I think we should do Deadpool 2 because that's definitely not Disney.
Definitely not Disney.
Still Marvel, but not Disney.
Yeah.
Deadpool 2, I did like it. I thought
absolutely.
that was a lot of fun. I did like that it started off, and it sucks that I'm doing this, but I think the contrast will be the Deadpool 2 versus Venom in that, like, if you had no idea what you were watching, you just be like, okay, Josh Brolin is some kind of, like, post-apocalyptic guy, and then, like, it's great. It interrupts it. Granted, this is a sequel, so you can do full-on Deadpool stuff, but, like, I just love that they were kind of, like, they kind of coax you in. Once again, if you had no idea what you were watching, if you didn't know about Cable, assuming you saw the first Deadpool, but you didn't know who Cable was,
absolutely,
you'd be like, "Oh, okay, whatever." Like, and then when Deadpool comes in, you're like, "Oh my goodness, this is great! That's so fun!" And I love that he did like a Toy Story thing, and like someone pointed
at the Cavill mustache thing. That was fantastic.
Obviously, someone pointed out. I didn't even get this when he goes, "I have the stones to help you." That's because Josh Brolin also plays Thanos, and it was like an Infinity Stone thing. I was like, they got a lot in there. My assumption is it's not in the movie. Yeah. Which is fine, but like,
there's also the surprise thing for me. One of those like quick shot. It's a very quick shot, but I'm a huge Terry Crews fan.
Yeah, I was like, wait, Terry Crews is in this movie?
Yeah, and I saw him there. I'm like, what is going on? And it's most likely he's still unofficially listed, but the most likely candidate for that character is G.W. Bridge.
Someone said something else. I'm not going to remember what it is, but I've seen G.W. Bridge way more than anything else that person said. Yeah,
who's a part of a mercenary group known as the Wild Pack or Six Pack or something like that, but definitely has X-Force affiliations. So whether or not we see Deadpool 3 as an X-Force film or the third time we see X-Force,
my assumption is this team will just get killed off and then the real X-Force will be in an X-Force movie, but this will backdoor introduce the concept of I say my assumption based on hearing it from someone else. I mean, like, that makes sense to me, just because like you would think an X-Force movie, if they really wanted to do it, would be like Psylocke and stuff like that, which they can bring in with Olivia Munn and kind of complete her stuff. And it might be too much to crowd that into an actual Deadpool movie. So and because Deadpool is all about fourth wall breaking and like all those subverting expectations, it could be that heroic shot just for most of them to get killed off, and then it's a funny moment, but also this cool comic book Easter egg. I could see them going that way. But I really like Terry Crews. If he was still in it, that would be great. Absolutely. The other guy they're saying is in between Domino, Zazie Beetz, and Deadpool is Bill Skarsgård.
Oh,
who played it, or Pennywise. And they're saying he might be Zeitgeist, which is some comic book character that coughs. That Zeitgeist is specifically a character that just gets killed off.
Right.
But he vomits out acid or something like that. That's kind of his thing.
Oh, I can't wait to see what jokes come out of that. That's great.
But yeah, it might not be, because now that I'm looking through the list, this guy kind of looks like Bill Skarsgård.
Right.
And he's actually on the list for IMDb.
All right.
And he is not Bill Skarsgård.
Something like Nikolai, something like that. But
yeah,
but either way, obviously the Deadpool 2 trailer is hilarious. Really, really funny. All the marketing stuff for Deadpool has been great. Even the posters.
They know how to market.
Oh, yeah. For the poster of Josh Brolin as Cable, and then Deadpool painting the Goonies version of Josh Brolin is like the funniest thing in the world to me. I'm like, this is the best. Like, you guys need to that marketing team needs to just do everything.
They're really good.
They keep doing up your good job.
I'm excited for Deadpool 2. I don't know why, but I always find it funny, that shot of Blind Al trying to aim the gun and then he has to re-aim it for her. That is hilarious to me every time. But yeah, I like all the Easter eggs. I love that this trailer introduces the fact that there's clearly characters we didn't even know would be in this movie. such as Terry Crews, whoever he's going to end up playing. If he stays alive, that would be great.
That would be
but
fantastic.
I can also see them using him to just kind of be like, and he's dead.
Yeah.
My assumption is Domino won't die.
I doubt Domino would die.
Yeah.
I would love for the next trailer to showcase a little bit more about Domino, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah,
because I feel like it's one of those things where obviously I don't know why this is a controversy, but people are like, "Oh, her skin needs to be white and this because of that's how the comic book accurate." I'm like, we're not.
They just did the inverse, and it's fine.
It's the inverse, and like I don't think that's a big issue. I mean, like I just don't see it being a big issue.
Yeah, especially if she just used it. It doesn't really matter because people liked Negasonic Warhead Teenage or whatever her name is.
Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
And she didn't use any of her powers.
Exactly.
And like wasn't that character. It's just you're gonna like of the character as they just like portray it. It won't matter.
Yep.
Whatever. I think it'll be fine.
Yes.
That's all I really have to say about Deadpool 2 because I just liked it and I don't think there's any real controversy. Well, real in quotations.
No real controversy.
There's nothing that people are. I think overall people are excited.
Yeah, I mean I think people are going to be overlook that very very quickly because they're going to be laughing so much and hopefully there's a love story.
Yeah,
into that.
Looks like there will. And now on to a controversial trailer for Venom.
Oh my god.
I've only heard one person who loves this trailer.
I've heard one person that loved the
They
trailer.
called it the best teaser they've ever seen.
Oh my god, really?
My thing with teasers, you still have to tease what's happening. Mm-hmm. The absence of anything to do with the Venom. Sorry. There's a symbiote. But like
the symbiote in the casing.
I think
cool.
So I guess what I would say is this must be a good thing for people who really love Venom.
Yes.
I think if your idea is to try and entice people to watch this movie across everywhere. This can't be it. This can't be your best way. And also, as most people say, so like the obvious thing is they weren't going to have a suit ready because they only stopped filming at this point like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, but then
why
for the other shoe to drop, it's why would you even bother then?
Yeah, because typically the marketing campaigns begin 6 months out, and this is dropping in November, right? October, November, around the fall. So, like, even then, it's just like you guys really rushed this on many, many accounts. What are you doing with this?
Yeah,
that's what bothers me. Is just like I get the sense where you don't need to show the final suit, but you tease the transformation, kind of like what they did in. And this is a terrible example. But the trailer for Spider-Man 3, where he just kind of like you see the kind of animation of like him being consumed by the suit. It would have been nice to like when he's in the MRI machine to have him like you see a little bit of the animation go up his neck. That would have been
You
so
do
much
see
better.
black in his veins.
Yeah, but that's in the veins. So to me, it's just like
that's what I'm saying. It doesn't. It's not like. I don't think there's enough for people to understand what's happening.
Yeah,
I think. If you know Venom, then yes, you can see the symbiote. You can see the train crash. You're like, oh, maybe that's where the symbiote comes from. You can see a bunch of stuff that you can piece together as a fan of Venom who is engaged. Is that, and maybe that's all they wanted to do was,
and you know what? And that's what I say to people. I'm like, this is a very esoteric trailer, a teaser trailer, in the sense where you only like this if you're like, oh, that's Prometheus X, oh, that's the ship that lands, or like whatever. You figure those things out. Absolutely, you do. But for a non-comic book fan watching this, you're just like, what was that? Venom, and then you got the logo at the end. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, I think what happened was like why people might be upset too is like you've already been teasing stuff.
Yes.
You've been like, hey, here's a picture of Tom Hardy. And it's like, I know what Tom Hardy looks like. Yeah. He's looking in a book. Great. Yeah. And then this trailer was just like, now you can see him moving with that book. And I was like, yeah, I did it. Like, I didn't need any more of this. Like,
I mean, in all fairness,
it just looks like a generic action movie.
It does look like a generic action movie. It looks like something like Taken or something like that.
Yeah, like you don't know what's happening. Yeah. And like the person who said they loved it was like, what I loved about it was that he's talking about a relationship, and you may just think it's a relationship with Michelle Williams, but it's his relationship with the symbiote. And I'm like, again, like this is stuff that you're inferring. You infer this, which is great for you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's like I don't.
Because you
I
can't
just
say
don't think
that
it's a success.
because
he's like, oh, there's only one. You can only have one first impression. I'm like, yeah, and this is my first impression.
And this was not a good one. And I'm not. And the thing is to say too, like I understand that we live in the age of immediate gratification, that we want stuff right away. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying I want, like, another thing that would have been really, really cool to me would have been the shadow of the transformation of him being like consumed by it. I'm like, that would have been more than enough to get me excited, to be like, oh my God, this is more than just an action film, because all you get is that one brief shot of the symbiote within the container.
Right.
And Riz Ahmed, and that's it. And then now we're hearing rumors that Carnage may not even show up until a post-credit scene when they're both being transported to, let's say, whatever.
And they're saying it might be Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd be interested in that, actually.
Because he got added fairly late in the game.
I would be very interested in that, actually.
So they're saying he might be, what's it? Cletus Cassidy.
Yep.
Yeah, they're saying he might be that.
Interesting, but now it's just like, oh, they're saying Carnage is so now they're leaning on a big name that they're not going to deliver, and then like,
oh, that's what I wanted to look up, because I feel like when IMDb pushes stuff out to me, and when they pushed out the Venom trailer, they're like, also starring Tom Holland. I'm like, so they really are like, they really want this to be. And
the funny thing is, when I watched the trailer in front of Black Panther, it was very interesting. There was no Sony branding on it. It was just Marvel logo right ahead. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, Tom Holland is 4th build on IMDb.
Wow.
Like, they're really like, hey,
he's in it.
Just you better, hey. Yeah. And they make sure to put Peter Parker.
Wow. That's some mighty big checks you gotta cast there, IMDb. But
I mean, IMDb is user based, so that's not. This isn't like Wikipedia official, but like usually they get it right. Yeah, usually they get it, and like it's so high up too that like, yeah. So all of that stuff is stuff you have to infer. So like,
absolutely.
I mean, not in this sense because they put Peter Parker, but even then, if they were like, no, Tom Holland's in this, you could be like, well, he's been in movies with Tom Hardy before, maybe he's somebody else.
Yep.
But this time they're like, no, it's Peter Parker. Yep. And then you're like, oh, I guess this was a Venom trailer then? I guess it was that character.
Yeah. And that's the biggest critique, is just there's nothing about this trailer that indicates that it's a Venom is even associated. To me, it's like, oh, it's Eddie Brock. That's it.
Well, do they even say Eddie Brock in the trailer? Because that's what, like you need to, and maybe that's what they wanted, to draw you in, but
I just don't. It was so esoteric that it couldn't draw anyone, and you gotta get a glimpse.
I think it'll help people who already know what they're going into, and that's fine. And maybe that's why it's so early. Like it's for them, and then they'll build up to it. I just think I kind of do stick on that first impression thing, and I think this one wasn't the best, but I guess they did the same thing with New Mutants. The more I think about it, they didn't.
Yes,
but even then, they gave you that like Sunspot teaser, like that they showed powers in it.
They did, and then they show
you don't know who that is, but that's more of a teaser.
Yeah, it was awesome. I love the New Mutants.
It sucks that got pushed back.
Yeah, it really
and they also They also said that it's not R-rated anymore. It's PG-13.
Yeah,
and coming out 10 months later. Yeah.
The last trailer we got to talk about before we launch into
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Ant-Man and Wasp.
I thought it was really fun.
It's definitely fun. I'll give you that.
You don't like Ant-Man.
I don't like Paul Rudd. I like Evangeline Lilly. I think she's going to be really.
I actually don't like her.
Really?
No, there's something about her personality and interviews where I'm like, okay. Take it easy.
See, I just that's why I kind of don't watch interviews a lot of the time, because I'm like, I don't want to know you as a human being. I want to know you as an actor.
Yeah. No, you can just enjoy her art, which is how it should be realistically.
Which is fair.
Just enjoy the artist. But there's just something. It seems like our personalities would clash in real life, and that's not a fair thing to say, but it just seems like. That's not to say I didn't like her in Ant-Man.
Yes.
And I don't think that she's going to be great in Ant-Man and the Wasp. It just seems like I would never be like, oh, I'm an Evangeline Lilly fan.
See, that's how I feel about Gwyneth Paltrow. I'm like, Gwyneth Paltrow, put her in a movie, give her a role, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
You give her any other platform to talk about her nonsense
that's why I don't listen to.
I'm just like, no.
Yeah.
Stop it.
I don't ever get into her stuff.
But yeah, that's how I feel about. That's why I kind of like to disassociate.
Like all this stuff with like shrinking the car, then using it to punch up another car. Like that's
fun.
great.
That was
her
really fun.
going on the blade and just her being amazing, and like Scott Lang having to be like, "Oh, did you not have that for me?" He's like, "No, I did."
Oh no, I did. That was great. That was. Really
and like
good.
shrinking the building. I get that everyone's like, "How would that work?" I'm like, "Who cares, man? Like it's just fun. It looks like a lot of fun." I'm hoping T.I. is back in it. I know that Michael Pena is in it.
Michael Pena is definitely in
I'm
it.
assuming David Dastmalchian is in it again. I just want that team.
Guy?
Yeah, I want that team to be back. I liked that. I liked that group.
I like that group. It was a lot of fun, especially Michael Pena.
Yeah,
but,
obviously Michael Pena. That's why they show him in the trailer.
Absolutely, he was so much fun. And
I just think this is like the first time Peyton Reed gets to just have his movie, and I think he doesn't get enough credit for how fun the first one is because everyone was just like, "Oh, I wish Edgar Wright did it." And this movie shows that he clearly has fun ideas too.
That's exactly it. And to me, I was like, even the first one, I put it pretty high on my like top films of whatever year it came up because of the fact that yes, I got to get over like my bias towards Paul Rudd is a bias towards Paul Rudd, but objectively, that film is a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun to watch and watch the visuals of like, oh, we're going to shrink down really, really small. And then all of a sudden, Thomas the Tank Engine is like a big thing. Yeah. Like, that's a funny thing.
Those are great visual gags. And like, I think it goes against what people say about like, oh, all the Marvel movies are the same. Like, I feel like they do enough different things, unless you don't want to see that. If you're like, if your whole thing is, no, they're all this way, then Ant-Man kind of looks weird to you. Yeah. But I think when people look at it, they'll see that a lot of them kind of look weird if you really break down what's happening in these movies. Yeah. Because they do try different approaches on different things. And this was like, to me, it seemed like a fun Jim Carrey movie, like Ant-Man did. Like, and this seems like it could be as well, like, and that they know what they're trying to accomplish in these movies. Yeah, and I like the fact that it exposes a little bit of the timing of when this movie takes place, which is like immediately after Civil War. It seems like like before Infinity War. Before Infinity War, immediately after Civil War, where they're just kind of like, oh, he's got out. I did like that line of like, hey, if I asked you to help me, would you have? And she's like, well, we'll never know now. Yep. And I'm like, ooh, tension. They're gonna face kiss at the end of it. So I really liked the fact that, because that was a big curiosity piece for me, is like, where does this movie fit in? Yeah. Between like, because they're doing Infinity War and then Ant-Man and Wasp and then Infinity War 2 or like whatever it is, 2 or Avengers 4 or whatever they're going to call it, which I still don't like the fact that we don't know the name of it. It's just like, well, I mean, obviously it just means that whatever the name is we're going to know be, after May 4th is what we're going to know. But either way, it's one of those things where I'm excited to watch this movie. I'm not excited to watch Paul Rudd on screen for a lot, but we have more people to spread the love around. There was always enough to spread around, even in the first one. Absolutely. Even seeing Judy Greer on camera is she'll be back, funny. Yeah, right? Absolutely. She's in the trailer, isn't she? She's in the trailer, for sure. She'll be back. So yeah, those are the trailers. Yep, absolutely. We liked 2 of them, did we? Or you? I don't know how you feel about Ant-Man and Wasp. Ant-Man and Wasp, I'm actually excited for, knowing that it's going to be a fun. So you're excited for the movie, not necessarily the trailer. I'm excited for the movie. Oh, I'm excited for the trailer as well. It's a fun trailer. You still get those great visuals and everything like that. You get some laughs, and you get a good sense of like, okay, this is clearly with the marketing stuff, we're expecting some sort of like campiness from the Batman era of, superhero stuff, which I'm like. Although the villain does seem like it'll be intense. Yeah. Yeah, that's what it's going to be fun. I don't remember the actress's name. Like she's in Ready Player One too, but she's the ghost. And Walton Goggins is going to be in it. Yeah, so that'll be good. He does seem like he's going to be pretty campy though. Just his look. Yep. He doesn't look like he's going to be menacing, which is fine. I like him in that Vice Principal show where he can get menacing, but he's overall not. So if he brings that energy, that'll be good. That'd be good. And we still haven't seen Michelle Pfeiffer, who's going to play the mom. Hope. Is it Janet? She's going to be Janet. Yeah. She's going to be Janet. But either way, I don't expect that to be a big thing. I do expect that to be a big thing. Michelle, because that is how you like disrupt what's going on. Well, that like you bring back the mother and you have to deal with her being away and probably being crazy. Yep. I think that's what's good is like they can show as much as they want about the powers and stuff, but when they actually get to the story, that'll be maybe something they can say for just when people are in the seats watching the movie.
Yeah.
And they can just keep showing you funny gags before the movie.
Yeah, I completely forgot about the Michelle Pfeiffer thing. They're probably. I'm really interested to see how they de-age her too, because they're definitely going to do it. They have to do it.
That's
they
kind of their
so
thing.
well with Michael Douglas. They have to do it with Michelle Pfeiffer for sure.
One movie that did not use de-aging. Oh, sorry, are you going to say something?
No.
I was gonna segue into Black Panther.
Yeah, that was going to do that too.
Yeah, no de-aging in this. They just got a different actor. Actually, what's his face's son? I like that they did that when they showed young Black Panther. That is the guy who plays T'Chaka in Civil War's actual son.
Yeah,
and I was like, this guy actually looks like Chadwick Boseman. I'm like, he's John Kanai's son. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyway, great movie. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah, we're so now we're officially launched into our
we will be spoiling Black Panther now.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts?
Where do we start? In a word, perfect.
Okay. That's
Perfect
a good way
in
to
a
start.
word. That's my rating right off the bat. It's there's not a single element of this movie that was poorly paced or anything like that. Everything fit in. It was the perfect length it needed to be. It was the perfect story it needed to be. It was so brilliant to me how Shakespearean it was, and how there were so many elements of like what Ryan Coogler did here was just basically, I think one of the biggest criticisms, one of the best, not criticism, one of the best things about this was all the criticisms lobbied towards black actors being like, especially like I think of the Idris Elba thing being like, he can't play 007, he's too urban for that or whatever. Those criticisms that he can't be this because ultimately it boils down to them being black. He showcases every aspect of how that is incredibly inaccurate and incredibly wrong about like, there's the Shakespearean aspect. And then with the aspect of when, I really got a huge Q and 007 moment. When, the sister,
Shuri,
Shuri
Wright.
Was, Letitia Wright was giving Chadwick Boseman, T'Challa, Black Panther, the weapons and everything like that. And even making fun of it. He's like, what I call them? Sneakers. That was really fun.
An interesting thing.
Yeah.
Donald Glover helped write those
really?
brother-sister moments.
That's crazy.
Him and his brother. I don't remember what his brother's
That's
name is.
fantastic.
Ryan Coogler gave the script to Donald Glover for why? I'm assuming because the connection is that Donald Glover's producer, Ludwig Göransson or whatever, did the score for this movie because he went to film school with Ryan Coogler.
Right.
So there's a community connection to this movie.
For sure.
No, I just mean the actual show Community because he did the score for Community as well.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, I really liked all the relationships. Obviously, the deeper stuff for me, which I'm sure you saw as well, was what I kind of crafted my opinion of it on was how much of this is not going to feel like, for lack of a better term, they just put a black skin on characters,
Right? Yeah, like a black avatar of
yeah,
Iron Man or something like that. Which is
and how much,
like,
and that's why I think this movie feels different.
It does.
And we already had this conversation, but like, there's the difference here is, as much as I appreciate that Blade got a trilogy or whatever.
Yep.
As he's written in the comics, I don't even think he was initially written as a black character.
No.
So that was just like. So it was kind of just like, we put a black guy in this game, which is great.
Yep.
Stepping stone. You mentioned Steel, which sure, but I think that
and that's
that
a
comes,
bad example.
It comes from like how, as a black person, I feel Hollywood wants to see us as this like impoverished, like coming from the slums and needing a leg up type thing.
Yeah, needing other people.
So that also feels different.
Yeah.
And then the other Marvel characters who are black are all sidekicks. So this was like, this is a royal family, and then they even show you the stuff in Oakland, which obviously is going to happen. Ryan Coogler is from Northern California,
right?
That's like that. All of that it informs the story. Is that you have this person? I know in interviews he said like you have these white friends who are like, oh, you haven't been to Africa? Like, and then they show you pictures of them doing like their peace treaties or whatever they're doing there. And he's like, yeah, but do you understand like how much I would have to work to get that opportunity to like go back? Like, because he's not in a financial position to do that. And like that longing you have. And that's obviously played out in Killmonger, who
Yep.
Definitely top MCU, if
Oh.
not the best, one of the best. Like,
I will say right now, the best villain of the
be-
MCU.
like that
without a
longing
doubt.
he feels of like
Yeah.
his dad loved it, and obviously he learns that retroactively, but just and like it's like kind of conversations I've had with my mom, even
Mm-hmm.
like how she's like, oh, like you should go back to Guyana, which is where she's from, and I'm
Right.
kind of like, nah, I don't know. And then when he has that exchange with his dad, he's like, well, maybe it's your people who are lost. That like, how would they not come help us here?
Yeah.
And that is his driving. Yes, it's revenge, which is pretty good. Like that.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good motivation. Not just a generic revenge story. It's like, no, you killed my dad, and I'm your nephew, and then you just left me there.
Yeah.
Like an asshole. Like you.
And it's not only just
you
left
kept
here,
me,
but
yeah.
it's like you
In a horrible situation.
knew that these were the spies and these were the situations you were living in, and you had the ability to help these people, your own
Yeah.
kind, out.
Or even just him,
Yeah.
like your actual flesh and blood.
Exactly.
Like you can make all the excuses of like they're not our people or whatever, but I
Yeah.
am your people. I am your nephew,
Yeah.
and you left me here knowing what the situation was.
Right.
So I'm coming back to get you, but also just the idea that like, yeah, he was like, yeah, look, why aren't we helping everyone? Like when he has that
Yeah.
scene where he's on the throne and he's like, you know, where I come from, anytime people like us want to rise up, they don't have the technology. You guys have the technology. Like, what's the deal here?
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, yeah, like this is great motivation. I thought he played it amazingly.
Excellent.
I mean, that's gonna happen. He's done like every Ryan Coogler movie,
Yeah.
so they obviously have.
Like
and,
Michael B. Jordan is
yeah.
easily one of my favorite actors right now.
and Ryan Coogler even said like he kind of was pissed that he had to take Chadwick Boseman. Like obviously they worked out whatever they needed to
Yes.
work out and became friends. But he was kind of like, well, yeah, it was kind of like I have to take him. Like not that he had any like, but it meant that he got to see Civil War like sooner than people and like,
Right.
read the script.
Yeah.
But he was kind of like, oh, so and you can tell he's like, then you have to give me Michael B. Jordan for the villain.
Yeah.
And it worked out. Like
It worked out
that's
so beautifully.
that's amazing that they solved a lot of issues I think people say they have with Marvel. The villain
Yes.
issue,
The villain issue,
third act
was-
issues.
I mean, even the criticism when the second trailer came out and we see Michael B.
they showed
Jordan
Golden
wearing
Jaguar?
the Golden Jaguar suit, I'm like, everything about how that came to be made so much
Yeah.
sense.
It wasn't like an Ironmonger situation where he's like, I'm going to
Exactly.
copy him. He's like, no, I'm the Black Panther.
Yeah,
and I'm
he's like,
gonna wear
no, I'm the
Panther
Black Panther now officially because I killed the guy, so
Yeah.
I should be, and this is the only suit left. So why should I not be wearing it? Like that made sense, and he didn't call himself I'm Golden Jaguar. He was
No.
like, no, he didn't even refer to himself at all. Everyone just like Killmonger, Killmonger, Killmonger.
Yeah, because that
And
is
that was
the
it.
character.
So, and even on IMDb, it says Eric Killmonger. It doesn't say Eric Killmonger slash
yeah.
Golden Jaguar.
I think maybe
that's
we
great.
just said, not us, but like the audience
the
just called him
audience
Golden
definitely
Jaguar.
went that way.
I think there
for sure.
is a character like that
I
at some
think
point,
so,
but
yeah.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for me, the first time I saw it,
Mhm.
he was definitely the standout. I was just like, man, he is killing it. Like,
Jordan?
yeah, his
Yeah.
first scene, just even being in that museum and like the way he plotted everything out, I'm like,
Yeah.
this is amazing.
It's so good. And the whole thing is like, is that vibranium too? It's like, no, I'm just feeling it. And he
Yeah.
just grabs it. I'm like, this is the best thing ever, man.
Or just how he spoke to her. He's like, yeah, you got all your security, which again, like I'm sure anyone could have done this, but just
Yeah.
that feeling of like he's in there
Mhm.
ostensibly because he likes those artifacts. I know he's in there to do something wrong,
Right.
but like that feeling you have when you go into a predominantly white situation, like a store.
Yeah.
There are stores like on Queen West that I think they actually got shut down, but
Yeah.
there was a store on Queen West I remember just east of Spadina
Yeah.
where my friend's girlfriend worked there, and she said, "Yeah, they tell you if a black person comes in, just watch them. Like
them
you
the
better, you
entire
got to
time.
be on
Yeah.
them. You got to be on them."
It's
And just
such
so,
a-
and like that he called out. He's like, "Yeah, you got everyone in here looking at me, but you're not paying attention to what's
Yeah.
going on in your butt."
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. I like. You can track like that. This comes from
Mhm.
a lived experience.
It
Like,
comes from
it's
a
not
very
like,
lived experience. And
it's
the
not
idea-
just like, what do they do? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, they're in the ghetto and they
Yeah.
play basketball. Like, yes, that's aspects of
Mhm.
the movie, but there's deeper things that goes into.
Absolutely. And the whole idea of he's like, I'm sorry, you can't just take that. It's like, oh, like your
Yeah.
ancestors took it, couldn't just take it from us and everything like that, and now showcasing all these artifacts and all that kind of like the double-sided coin that this movie is
Yeah.
amazing in the sense where it's like, what you mean we can't do this because you're in power, like, but you did it
Yeah.
first, like kind of
Yeah. How do you think you got this?
yeah. How do you think you got this? It wasn't from a trade; it was from colonialism
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff.
And to kind of cap off the Michael B. Jordan of it.
Yeah.
The way he died, even like you knew. I was like, man, yeah,
So
he
sad.
he cannot live in this world. And yeah, I was sad because
Yeah.
he was just like, yeah, like just bury me in the water, like where my ancestors jumped off the boat because they knew like death was better than bondage. And I'm
That
like,
was
yeah, like
such a
like
I
that
cried,
is
man. That
yeah,
was-
like it's such a well done thing that like. And I think that's why this is more because like the person in front of me was like, that was just a standard Marvel movie when the movie ended, and I was like,
no, it's not.
what are you
This is
talking
so
about?
much
Like
more. It's just
like it's a really well done superhero
Yeah.
movie, but it has all those like yeah, like I think the first time I saw it, I was kind of like, fuck these rhinos, like but, like this. I also saw it on a terrible screen the first time.
oh yeah.
Watching it again in IMAX, I was like, this is fun, like this is good.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm all for everything, like as you said, like the whole way through.
Mhm.
I did have like nitpicks about certain stuff, but we can get into that later. But like as a movie, like that is a really well done.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, Ryan Coogler is like 3 for 3 in terms of his output. He did Fruitvale Station and Creed, and then this.
Creed was phenomenal too. And
Yeah.
Now this, yeah, you're right. He's 3 for 3 as far as I'm concerned. Even like the Killmonger stuff. It was just so damn good. It was a character. It was a villain that you cared for legitimately.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you're like, if you won right now,
It would
I
be bad.
wouldn't be upset about that. A lot of what you're saying, there's a lot of truth behind it, and I get that the way you're trying to achieve your goal is through violence, and that's not great. I don't like that, but at the same time, you're just kind of like, I get where your anger's coming from, man.
Yeah.
It's coming from generations of pain and torture and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, yeah, I
And I
feel
liked,
that.
I think the other thing I really liked is that this movie does address, not overtly, but it does address the tension between being
Yes.
African American and then just actual American, like, sorry, not American, African. Like,
yeah.
there is a disconnect there. Like, and
Huge
there's a disconnect if you try to break it down to like Caribbean versus, yes, everyone came from Africa, but like, then there's like a generation where we're just kind of like, yeah. We're obviously the slaves came here, but we
Of course.
like Guyana or Jamaica, or wherever, Bermuda, and then there's the people who, like someone like Jay-Z who's like, no, my parents are just American. I'm like, well, obviously not.
Yeah.
But like, so like there's a difference. We're not a monolith in terms of black people, and those tensions come out that you could have all those 5 tribes then be like, yeah, 4 of us get along, but not the Jabari. They have to leave because they don't agree with what's going on.
Right,
and then I love how that plays out. That the Jabari tribe becomes their version of Wakanda within Wakanda.
Yes.
And that like, or like the Daniel Kaluuya's character, who I was just like, good for him for being this, but like, fuck, man, you didn't learn anything from Get Out. You're such a bitch in this movie. But like, he's just like that. He was like basically, for lack of a better term, a Trump supporter, and they're like, hey, you can't let these refugees come into our place and bring their problems and then make us bad.
And he is the Border Patrol.
Yeah.
Literally. His
I
tribe is
loved
Border
everything
Patrol.
about the Border Patrol, the way they could just put up their things, and that
God.
created a shit.
That was the coolest thing ever from the
I
tech
think-
standpoint. I'm like, what are you guys doing? And I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool.
The visuals, like obviously I liked the way they displayed. I saw someone write a review that they didn't like the way that they kind of tell the story of how vibranium got to Wakanda.
Right.
Just the visuals of like that it was done through sand, and then they come back to that when Black Panther picks up the truck to be like, oh, there's Nakia or whatever.
Right.
Like I liked that visual. I loved when T'Chaka went to see his brother and the Dora Milaje just hit their spears and then he appeared. I was like, oh man, I'm in on this movie already. Like that's wicked.
Yeah.
And the shield stuff.
The shield stuff, even the communication devices that they
all
have.
those
that was
always
just
look
like
cool.
This weird, like, sandy hologram
Yeah.
kind of thing. That was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Even like the spears being like, you can stop a tank with this spear.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? That's insanity. That's so cool. There's all that kind of stuff. The development of the tech, like I said, the huge feeling of the Q007 kind of feeling that I got from that whole thing. It's like, check these shoes out and everything, and then make fun of like that. Like, how dare you wear your royal sandals? And that was
or like
so
when
much
he
fun.
kicks the thing and then she's like, okay, do it
Kick
again.
it.
Do it again. What? I'm just filming for experimental proof. Like all that's cool, but and then if you want to tie it into the MCU, like that's all setting up stuff for, I'm assuming, Infinity War. Like,
absolutely.
then you're like, you don't, like, you already know what they're capable of without them having to show it in this movie. When they go up against like a Thanos army, you'd be like, yeah, they could hold themselves.
Yeah, they can hold themselves
because
they
have set the precedent.
All this kind of stuff, and there's like mountains of this.
Yeah,
stuff.
and that's what I liked about this movie, is that it could set up stuff or plant seeds, even for stuff that pays off in this movie. But like, it is a self-contained film,
and that's entirely what I love the most about this. This is, without a doubt, the best origin story that MCU has ever told. And I love the fact that the entire time I went into this movie thinking, please don't let Captain America show up during the movie.
Yeah.
Please don't let anyone else show up during the movie. It's not a movie that I want to lend someone else's franchise to boost this up. I wanted this to be its own thing, and that's what it exactly did until the very, very end post-credits scene.
Yeah, that's fine.
And that was like, that needed to be done, though. It absolutely needed to be done.
because he's there. It's not like he visited. He was
and
there.
He needs to be there for Infinity
Sorry,
War,
we're talking about Winter Soldier showing up
Yeah.
and being like, call me Bucky. And it's like, no, you're Mr. Barnes.
You're Mr. Barnes.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
But I think you probably should see Civil War before this.
Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
I do agree that you could watch this without seeing anything else, but there's just like, they straight up show footage from Civil War.
Yes. But I mean, like, it was only necessary, like, remember, like, how he died? And it was like a flashback. It wasn't integral to the movie. I still, like, to this day say, like, you can watch this movie.
Oh, yeah, you
watching
could.
Anything in the MCU.
Don't get me wrong. This is not like, this isn't like even something like Winter Soldier where there's a bunch of stuff that plays into it, which I still really like. I'm saying this is a great example of something that is its own story. That does help flesh out some stuff in future, probably could help flesh out stuff for future movies, but is its own thing, and they didn't need to lean on anyone to like help.
Because, with the trailer of Infinity War, with Cap and like being in Wakanda and everything like that, you would naturally assume that at some point he would show up.
Yeah.
From a cameo, especially because Cap's had some of the most cameos in the MCU.
Thor:
It's kind
Dark
of like
World
this,
and Homecoming.
Thor: Dark World, even Spider-Man: Homecoming, all that kind of stuff. He's had those consistent kind of things, and you're just kind of like. And it's not that I don't like Captain America, the franchise. It's just I wanted this to stand on its own.
Yeah.
And it exactly did that. It was perfect.
Let's go through some more characters.
Let's go. Lupita Nyong'o. That was awesome.
I feel like that would be my nitpick if I had it.
Really? You didn't like her, eh?
I love her first scene.
Yeah.
Like just the moment where you're like, oh, he's not actually saving her. He's actually screwing her over.
Yeah.
And that she was able to, in every fight scene, she was able to handle herself.
Yep.
I loved that. And I loved that she represented where he needed to be moving.
Yes.
And as much as a character I like more, Okoye represented what he probably shouldn't be moving towards. Right. I like how they work off of each other. Yep. That's what I think in my initial review was like, I like that those three women, Shuri, Okoye, and Nakia, all they actually have their own opinions.
Right.
They're not just background characters.
Yes.
They feel more fleshed out than even a Pepper Potts or something like that.
Absolutely.
In the first time you see Pepper Potts,
yep.
Let me be clear, because she does get to build into something else. I think maybe I should have used a better example, but whatever. The point is, I understood who those people were just with this one movie, and I liked it. I think I don't want to really get into it. There was something about that I was kind of like, yeah, she's fine. It's not. It's what I think. It's more that they kept pushing, like, your ex-girlfriend. I'm like, is she? I don't know.
Yeah.
Who cares?
I mean, like that was.
But I'm saying that as a nitpick. Yeah. I'm saying what she did well was great, and what she represented was great. That because she's a spy and actually is out in the world, she would align more with Killmonger's way of like, we should be helping people outside. And I like that wasn't presented as like that. Even you could present her point of view and Killmonger's point of view as kind of the same thing, but not.
They're the same. To help
the
outsiders.
idea is that we should be helping outsiders.
To help outsiders, but the direction is different.
Yes,
that's all.
And I like that stuff. So there's the idea of what she represents that I like.
Yeah, I loved her character and all the female characters in this because of the fact that they were all, to your point, strong and independent. They were all like, they had their own thoughts. They were all like, this is what you need to do. and in many ways, they were so much more impressive than T'Challa in the sense where it's like, you need to do this, you need to do this, and then, well, obviously the conflict is like, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? And then he finally has that epic scene where he's like almost dead in the mountains, and then he sees his
dad again.
The past back Black Panthers and his dad, and he has that amazing scene. He's like, no, you did, this was wrong. This is stupid. This is wrong. We should be helping people out. He makes his decision there, and that's when I'm like, yes, awesome. But of course, it took the movie to get there. Obviously,
what I liked before that was everything. How compassionate T'Challa was.
Yes,
because which leads into another character I really like, which is the M'Baku, like that first fight.
Yep.
Where
I really like M'Baku.
Yeah.
For sure.
Where he was kind of like, anyone else would have probably just killed him because he would have been like, yeah, you're a problem. I'm going to get rid of you.
Yep.
But he was like, he didn't just say, I'm saving you because it's the right thing to do. He's like, no, your people need you. Like he clearly was like, no, you're a good leader. Like you need to be alive. Don't make me do this to you, man. Like just yield. That kind of compassion, the same kind of compassion he showed to Zemo when he was like, no, I'm not going to let you kill yourself. Like, you were misguided, and the compassion he has for Killmonger, like even though he's clearly hates what Killmonger's done, he's just like, nah, the only reason I don't kill you, like I know who you are, I know your family, but he clearly sees like, yeah, you got screwed over, and like we can save you, and that's I liked it. It's a subtle thing that maybe doesn't come out because yes, everyone else is so like forthright with what they believe, but the movie is him. The only reason things are able to get bad are because he's so conflicted. He doesn't know what he wants.
Absolutely.
And to your point earlier, like that's why everything comes out well. It's like such an organic build up to that blow up he has with his dad.
Exactly.
Like, you know what? I've got all the information now, and no, we're not going to do things the way you did it because if the way things you do, if you were doing the way you do it, it leads to you killing your own brother and leaving your nephew,
and then you creating this monster.
Kind of deal. Just to like keep the secret for no good reason.
Turn our backs on the world where we don't like we're completely fine right now.
Yeah.
And the idea of those discussions that they have back and forth is like, should we show the world? Should we show this? It's like, and then Lupita Nakia's one of the things is like Wakanda has the strength to defend itself and take care of other people at the same time. Don't worry about that. Whereas, Okoye, Denai Guraya's character, she was like, no, we need to protect this. This is the lineage. This is the traditions. This is what we need to do.
And I understood her point because she's the general, right? So she's like, no, like I protect the throne. I don't care who's on the throne.
Yeah,
it's probably gonna kill me to like protect Killmonger, but that's what I signed up for because I believe. And even like, I'm gonna kill my, I don't know, it was husband or boyfriend, Daniel Kaluuya. Like I without question, I would kill you if it meant protecting this. Which that's kind of why I liked her. It's not that I agreed. Like I definitely don't agree with her. I'm just like, I like when, I think I said this earlier on another podcast or another episode, I like when people are like, no, this is what I believe in and this is what I want to do, and like they make definitive decisions. Right or wrong, they make their decisions, and I can appreciate watching that unfold. And she was amazing at fighting, and like,
see, I'm a little bit different. I like seeing that in a fictional character. I don't like seeing that in real life.
Well, we're talking about movies.
And that's about it. Because it's just like, there's some critical thought that's not happening right now. But at the same time, to her point too, it's just like, it's not like Killmonger slimed the competition.
No, he won
fair and square. And the thing is, like, the body couldn't be found, the death couldn't be confirmed, so that was the natural progression of things. Yes, absolutely. Like this, it was in ritualistic combat, and even like,
and he's trying to do something she wouldn't even agree with anyway, but she just has to be like, well, he's on the throne, so
and even Makabu, he's like, M'Baku. Sorry, I'm not getting these word pronunciations properly.
Fine. I just wanted to make sure we were talking about
Winston Duke's M'Baku. Even then, when the women were like, we're going to take the last of this the herb and bring it to him in order for him to take it so that he can overthrow Killmonger and everything. It's like to his point, it's like, did he?
So it was less a murder and more
of a defeat in ritualistic combat.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to challenge that? Like that's anarchy if you guys do this kind of deal. And then they just lucked out. It's like, oh hey, he not dead yet.
Yeah, I liked his character because there's that mutual respect there, and because it's hard like to think about it. You think like, well, he's always with it, but he said like you're the first Panther in, what did he say, like 1,000 years or something? Like, it was like maybe he said centuries. I don't know. But like, yeah, there's been like he isn't the one that had that self-imposed thing. He's just like, you guys could come here anytime you wanted. Really, we just don't want to be technologically advanced as you guys. Right. And he's like, yeah, you're the first king to come here ever.
1,000 years.
Like,
and it was great to see that.
And like, yes, he can say a life for a life, but I think there is that mutual respect of like, more than that, you understood that I'm a good leader as well, and like,
and
so
I'm a fair leader, and all that kind of stuff.
And I like that he had to make his decision, like Black Panther, of like, maybe we do open our borders and like help. Just the way he's going to open his borders and help.
Absolutely.
Like that. Yeah, I just liked that kind of like story within a story that was playing out.
And I didn't even see it like that, but the mirroring of those stories is really, really, really strong, I feel. Another element that I really want, the idea of the thing that I think was really, really brilliant. You and I have had this conversation in the past. Obviously, M'Kabu, Winston Duke's character, traditionally in the comics was known as Manape. And that is such a racially insensitive.
They did call him Gorilla.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, I really am interested in your perspective of this. How did you feel how they wrote that to have the guerrilla aspect of it, where each tribe had their own animals that they were like, that was represented the tribe, where the border patrol had the rhinos and everything like that.
I don't remember the other animals, but I didn't even realize. Yeah, obviously their animal is a rhino.
Yeah, but I mean, how did you feel about, because they didn't reference Manape, but at the same time there was that nod of this is where
and they went like gorilla. I honestly, that first time they do the I was like, this is amazing. Like, just the way they came out from the dark, man. That's one of my favorite shots actually of the movie. I was like, yes, because I didn't know how they were gonna play him. Like, obviously you see him in the Infinity War trailer, so there's kind of like, well, he doesn't die, and like,
and he's fighting on their side. So,
and I honestly thought it was gonna have to be like. I like the way it played out. Don't get me wrong. I like that it was like, no, they respect each other. He's coming because he has his own belief. Like, everyone has their beliefs. Yeah. And M'Baku is like, I don't think we should be messing with all this technology. So I will challenge because we are still technically a part of this nation. Yeah. And if I'm in charge, we will back off this. Yeah. And then they have the fight. And then he's kind of like, hey, you know what, man? Like, you obviously aren't that bad. You didn't kill me. Yeah. And more importantly, you were thinking beyond as I said, I already said this. It wasn't just because it's the right thing. It's like, no, you are the person that should be alive. Yep. You need to lead your people.
Stop being selfish here.
Yeah. And like, absolutely. And the fact that like his decision was basically like, I think it's better to work with this Panther than anyone else who's ever been in charge, because he was right, obviously, not to trust T'Chaka, because T'Chaka killed his own brother. Yep. And so to see, I guess that's when I'm trying to justify something that no one has ever really put on trial yet, but just his change from being an antagonist to an ally. Yes, makes sense to me. Yeah. I feel like you believe that too. I just wanted to get ahead of that because I feel like, as I'm already hearing other podcasts in my head being like, oh, yeah, like, how did he do that? Or like, why would he? It just conveniently, and I don't feel like it was a convenience thing. I think they planted the seeds, and it was quite clear to me that he's like, why wouldn't you? You're all in the same country. You would want to work together. And he respects T'Challa enough to be like, I would work with you.
And there's also I think there's that respect and that level of, he understands the hypocrisy of the sense where it's just like, if this is a half-baked idea, I think, where M'Baku understands the fact that it's like, okay, if we turn our backs here at this point in time, then what's to prevent everyone else from coming down on us, kind of deal?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
We know where the outcasts.
Well, it's what he said. Like, you know what's happening next when Killmonger finishes his plan.
Yes, absolutely. He's going to come after you next. Yeah. And he's like, and then he's just like, the brief moment where it's like, just let them. And he obviously reconsiders, and at the end pulls a Han Solo. Hey, we're going to come in and then help everyone out, kind of deal. Fantastic character development for M'Baku for sure. And I really love him.
And what I liked about the Daniel Kaluuya storyline, I don't know his name. I'm not going to look it up. W'Kabi, I think it is.
W'Kabi, yeah.
I like because it was only the second time I was watching where I was like, man, there's a lot of black on black fighting here, and I like that. That's clearly what changes Wakabi's mind.
Yep.
Like, yeah, your girlfriend is saying, "I will kill you for this," but he was like, "Well, I'll kill you then," and then he's kind of like, "Wait, we're all fighting each other." There wasn't like an Everett Ross in the field, like a white guy being like, let's get them. It was like, no, like, I'm basically leading to us killing each other off.
Yeah.
Like, there's no good in any of us fighting, and then being like, like, we need to stop this right now.
The one thing I will say is I would have liked to know what happens with that character, with how they treat him, in the sense where it's just like, that was kind of treason that you pulled there, kind of.
No, it wasn't. He was carrying out the of the ruler at the time.
Well, the thing is that and that's the debate. Who is the ruler? In the sense where the ritualistic combat was not completed, in the sense where he didn't yield or he didn't die. So the combat was still
but
going.
I think the idea is, and Everett Ross spoke to this. You throw out all the rules of the government. That was his training, right? You get in there like at a point, like at a pivot point, like an election or whatever, which is basically their version of an election. He came in and he's like, "Yeah, I'm challenging you." He got in, like he did kill him, like for all intents and purposes. Yes, they didn't find the body, but I guess he didn't. But like everyone sees him get stabbed and then thrown off a waterfall. There's no reason to be like, well, he could come back. So everyone's like agree, and it's not like they all were like, yeah, we're putting the thing on you. You're the Panther now. You're the leader.
Yep.
And he made the decision, like, we're not doing it the way we used to anymore.
Yep.
That is the thing. So it is. I mean, it wasn't treason. It's just more like he's a shitty friend.
Yeah, I guess. Well, he must have been really, really concerned about where his alliances lie and everything like that.
Well, he already made his thing. He's like, I thought it would be different with you, and it's not. It's more of the same.
Yeah,
like
that
was the end
scene.
of it.
Yeah.
He was like, you didn't bring back Claw. You didn't kill him. Fuck you then.
Yeah.
And that was that. Like
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, so he'd already made his decision. So he's gonna. And why wouldn't you align yourself with Killmonger, who brought you Claw? And that's pretty much the only thing he wanted was like, let's kill Claw.
He wanted that, but also he was like, oh, this is also what you're promising. You can promise not only Wakanda but the world. To rule them. Yeah, because didn't he say that too? Like he definitely wanted to push beyond, and like he
didn't want people to come in. He was just like, no, we could just rule them. I don't know. Now I don't remember if that was him or Sterling K. Brown that said that.
Right. But yeah, that was fantastic. We have to talk about Ramonda Angela Bassett's
that's
mother
her name. Yeah. I did not know her name.
That was phenomenal. I loved
when
her
he died, I was like, oh my goodness, good acting there. She's a good crier. I gotta just say that, like,
phenomenal. Angela Bassett was.
She looked like Storm in those when they were running away. I was like, oh,
shit,
Oedipus complex, because he's gonna marry Storm.
Yeah,
I think she was great.
Yep.
They didn't really give her much. Not that she needed. Like, what is she gonna do really? I think in the comics she's just his adopted mother.
Right. I just like that one scene where Killmonger's like, "Hey, Auntie."
Yeah. Right.
I was like, that was.
There is nothing Killmonger did that I was like, meh. Everything he does, like, oh my goodness, I'm in.
It was so much passion. I was like, even when like that scene where he's like burning the herbs, I'm just like, yeah, man, you say that passion behind the way you say it. I'm like, yes, do it. We got to talk about. I think one of the most brilliant parts about this movie was the scene in Oakland, how that unfolded.
Everything in Oakland I loved.
Yeah, in multiple ways, how it unfolded. It was the idea of like even this movie attacking the idea of the narrative of media right now being like the fake news things. Like, guys, look, there's multiple angles to a story you got to consider, as opposed to being like, oh, I'm just going to hear T'Chaka's retelling of the story, and then there's Zuri, Forrest Whitaker's like, no, he had to kill him because he threatened to kill me and everything like that, and I was loyal to the throne and your uncle wasn't, and then like the decision was made and all that kind of stuff, and then Zuri at the end being like, look, it's just not him, it's not his fault for what happened to you, it's completely mine. Take it out on me, like, and
he's like, I'll kill both of you, Uncle James.
Yeah,
I was like,
well,
that's
kill both of you. I'm like, okay. Cool.
An interesting thing. The first time I saw that movie, I didn't remember, or sorry, in between the first and second viewing, I didn't remember that he flat out in his first scene as Forrest Whitaker says, "I am Zuri," whatever the fuck. So I was just like, when they went back, and I was like, "Oh, he's that kid," like an idiot. I was like, "Oh," and then the second I was like, "Oh, he just flat out like that wasn't supposed to be in it. Like that wasn't supposed to be anything."
Yeah.
That kid is named Denzel Whitaker.
Oh, really?
He's named after Denzel Washington and Forrest Whitaker.
That's awesome.
He's already been directed by Denzel Washington in The Great Debaters, and he played Forrest Whitaker's son in that movie. And now he's playing a young version of Forrest Whitaker in this movie. I think people think he's
meta.
I think people think he is Forrest Whitaker's son. He's not, but his parents must be like, "We did it! We did it! We did it!"
That is so good.
So just think about what you name your kids in the future.
Yes,
because it clearly worked out for these parents.
You know what? I never even drew that conclusion. And I was like, wait, this guy's got a lazy eye.
I think they put the lazy eye on him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But I was just like,
because I don't remember in other movies.
Thing, yeah.
He does have two kind of droopy eyes, but I feel like in this movie they put extra droop on one of them, like Forrest Whitaker.
Right.
Because I only noticed it the second time I saw it, that I'm like, oh, they are trying to make him look more like it. Honestly, the first time I didn't realize that wasn't a secret, because for some reason that just blew my mind. I'm like, oh,
it was one of those things where I was just taken for such a powerful ride that there was so many little elements like that I just missed out on, that I was just like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, of course. Like, it says his name in the damn thing.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun to me. And so the idea of them even having that very meta, like thing that, guys, consider all angles to this, not just the one retelling of this kind of thing. That was so cool to me. And even that was just fantastic.
Another cool thing, the kid at the end who's like, well, who the hell are you? And he smiles instead of saying Black Panther. That's the kid from Moonlight, the youngest, Chiron. Which the first time I was like, that's got to be him, right? But he wasn't he wasn't on IMDb yet. He is there now, and I'm like, oh, nice. Which kind of leads to my other thing of like, I love how many up and coming black actors are in this movie.
Yeah.
And obviously you've got Angela Bassett and Forrest Whitaker as like the elder statesmen, like the icons, but like Sterling K. Brown, like, who I love. Pauline does not. I think she's just trying to annoy me by saying that. I don't think she actually doesn't like it. But like, it was, when I saw him on the O.J. Simpson show, I was like, this guy is great. And then I noticed he was in that movie, that Tina Fey movie, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, he's nothing like he is in the O.J. show. What a great actor. Yeah. He kind of brings his This Is Us stuff to this movie, but it works.
Shuri, Letitia Wright.
Letitia Wright is amazing.
I loved her.
Also Guyanese like me.
In the beginning, in that first scene, I was like, I think I'm going to hate this character so much.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in that beginning scene where he lands back in Wakanda.
When she gave the finger, you weren't like, oh, I'm on board?
No, I was not on board. I was just like, get in line. Like, what? Like, get in line. Like, this is your new king now. Have some fucking respect. And then, like, seeing, like, how the relationship played out, it was just like, you know what? Now I love every aspect of
it. I
this.
love when she put up her head, because in the comics she does become Black Panther. So when they're like, is anyone of royal blood gonna challenge? And she put up her hand. I'm like, this is it. Yeah, and then she's like, nah, my corset's tight. Yeah. Can we just get on with this? I was like,
then I was like, when she did that, I'm like, I think I like her now.
Yeah, I was.
The idea was like, yes, can we get this over with? This corset is really uncomfortable. What did you think about Martin Freeman, Everett K. Ross in this?
Martin Freeman?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah.
So here's the problem. Over the break, I read some stuff about him that made me be like,
Like as Martin Freeman? Or
Martin Freeman.
Okay, so.
Like, don't get me wrong, as Tim from The Office, I loved him. I was always on board with him. And then I read some of his like problematic views on, which I'm assuming he's trying to atone for by being in Black Panther, but some of his like views on why representation isn't important, and like, why do black people keep trying to push that agenda? It's just like, all right.
That.
Oh, fuck you, buddy.
Yeah, I don't like that. That's very uncomfortable.
It was kind of packaged with how he courted his wife, which I didn't think was that big of a problem. It clearly worked. They're still married. But it was more like some interview snippets where he said some things where I was just like, fuck you, man.
Was that taken out of context, or was that?
No, you can read the interviews. They've got links to the interviews. It's not really. I mean, as much as, I mean, I don't know even why you would say anything that could be taken out of context that way.
Yeah.
But like, he's fine in this movie. I like that he's clearly not a white savior. I also know that in the comics, he's considered more of like a brother to T'Challa.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like they're very close,
Oh,
and I think they're closer in age, and just really good friends. I'm fine with the way they're representing him now. Like, kind of like it is kind of like a Batman and Commissioner Gordon in the sense of like we like each. It's not like Nolan because I really liked that relation. That was definitely leaning into the more like not sexual, but like a love relationship of like I really like. It's more like just like, hey man, you're really rattling the cage and it's it's shaking things up. I like that relationship and just the small moments where he like hits T'Challa and he's trying to put him in his place and you're just like, and then, you idiot, and then, you know nothing.
And then he's just like instantly like just you want to go like right away, and it's just like. Okay, I just got put back in my place. The idea that his like Everett Ross was just such a cocky CIA person, it was just like, no, you're doing things my way, and nothing goes his way. And then finally, when he gets brought back to T'Challa's compassion and empathy to save his life and everything like that, and be like, that's impossible. I had a gunshot wound. How was that possible? It's like, no, it's
we know what we're doing.
We know what we're doing.
Stop talking down to us. We know what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. The idea is like, no. And even like the dialogue that Shuri has with him, he's like, "What? Why don't you go colonize something?"
No, she said, like "Don't scare me like that, colonizer."
Yeah, so something like that to that degree, or it's like, "Oh, we have to fix another white boy" or something like that.
Which obviously the Bucky thing.
Yeah,
it's like, oh great, another broken white boy to fix.
Yeah,
I think, I liked him. I really liked Claw. We haven't really talked about Claw.
Yes.
The first screening I saw, people didn't quite like him. They thought he was too over the top, but I thought it was great.
I loved it. I love
especially
crazy.
Since he dies, and when he dies too. It's like, it's fine to have him be that crazy because they don't have to like doses, right? You don't have to like extend that over a whole film.
Yeah,
I was surprised they killed. I'm surprised they killed the two villains that like are the only real villains I know for Black Panther,
right?
And made the other villain I know for Black Panther an ally.
Yeah.
Like, I only know those three people as antagonists, and they're out of the picture now. I mean, M'Baku might turn, but I don't. I would like it more if he was just like an ally.
Yeah, M'Baku, I just don't think he would turn.
There's no point to make him turn back, because it would undo a lot of what... Yeah. You can always have that tension of, like, hey, like, we've got different ways of doing things, but that could just be used as, like, they always come to a better solution because they're bouncing off each other.
Well, and to the point of that relationship with T'Challa and M'Baku being a reflection of Wakanda's relationship with the rest of the world, it would be really, really upsetting if it did. Yeah. But at the same time, in Black Panther 2, which obviously they're going to do, they have to do Black Panther 2.
Funny anecdote about that.
They are from Chadwick back.
Well, they want Kevin Feige wants Ryan Coogler back.
Oh, absolutely! Everyone wants Ryan Coogler back. Why wouldn't you?
No, they were asking Chadwick Boseman on, I think it was The Breakfast Club, like, hey, so like, you know, obviously everyone knows about this Fox deal. That means that the X-Men might be back under MCU, and that means you could marry Storm. And he was like, Lupita Nyong'o was like, if you fucking bring her in. Because Lupita Nyong'o's character does become a villain at some point. She's like, I will be that villain. If you let her come in, I want to be. She's like, no, you won't be marrying Storm in this.
That's amazing. That's so funny. But yeah, because in the comics, he does marry Storm. Yeah. And it's quite interesting to see where that could go. But yeah, right. This, oh man, I can't stop saying good things about this. Andy Serkis used his claw. I loved every aspect of it
because I liked him in Age of Ultron. Yeah. So when he came back, I was like, yeah, good.
It's great. It's just like the idea of just like he's not scared the entire time. He's got a backup plan. This is what's happening.
Or he's like, hey, you can go, but don't tell anyone. And then he shoots. He's like, yeah, spread out the crime scene. Makes us look like amateurs.
That was really, really fun to me. Yeah. I was just like, huh, you evil genius.
Or I got a mixtape. It's on my SoundCloud. You want a SoundCloud? Yeah. Please don't make me listen to your music.
It's like, I don't want to listen to you. Yeah, get him the link for the thing. It's like, that was really, really fun. I enjoyed watching Ulysses Claw and Andy Serkis' portrayal. I really enjoyed it. And to the fact that it wasn't less shocking to me that he was dead. Because I'm like, Killmonger is definitely that kind of guy that would just do it.
Yeah.
And be like, yeah, you know what? This is how we're going to get access into Wakanda. Because he even says, like, what did you think they're going to do? Just welcome you into Wakanda? And he's like, no. And then boom.
Yeah.
And just like, I got my
Well, no,
trading
he
gift or
shows
something
his
like
lip and he's like, ah, no.
that. Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Wakandan was able to kill Claw.
Yeah. And that's the thing that was just like kind of weird that that was my one issue with this story was that T'Chaka, the older Black Panther, was like never really made a point of finding Ulysses Claw. That was
But I think that speaks to
his guilt
that
associated with the thing.
no, but the that is always going to be the same way Peter Parker is going to have to choose between being a hero and being Peter Parker.
I see.
Black Panther's always going to have to choose between being the king and then actually going out and doing superhero stuff.
I see.
And I think this movie, you don't really see T'Challa, like you've never seen Black Panther before T'Challa came out in Civil War, meaning that he probably was just doing Black Panther stuff within Wakanda. T'Chaka, that is.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense that Claw would only ever have the one chance to see T'Chaka, and if he got out because T'Chaka is not going to be the one who chases him down.
Fair enough.
Because he would just sit on the throne.
And I would assume he would send those guards after.
Yeah, he'd send the Dora Milaje, but like, or have spies try to do it.
Absolutely.
I do like that they're just implanted everywhere. One thing I will say, kind of like how you thought about Thor Ragnarok, where his decision still leads to a bad thing because Thanos comes and like, this decision definitely leads to what Thanos is like, oh, Wakanda, yeah, we're going to go right there then. They're open. We know where they are now.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would assume that the reason why they go to Wakanda as the primary Earth landing point is like to destabilize, to take over the resources, the best resources of Earth. And since the fact that, obviously, I would assume Thanos has sleepers and spies all over the place too to figure this out.
I mean, could be. I just was trying to give you credit for like pointing out like when you're like, that decision does kind of lead to something bad.
It doesn't really matter what he does; it still happens.
No, because this movie wasn't about
it was
what Thor Ragnarok was about. This was it's the same thing I liked about Luke Cage is that it is the fight for a community. Like it's like what is best for this community, whether you want to focus in on Wakanda or the community of Black people, the diaspora or whatever. What is best for them, and that's what this movie is dealing with. You can it's interesting that they do have such an amazing villain in it, considering realistically at the end of the movie it was like Wakabi looking at me like, wow, like we're just fighting each other. Right. This is clearly not the right thing.
Yeah. You already know my rating of this.
1. Just kidding.
On a possible scale of 1.
Yeah. So you give this a 10.
Plumes. I give this a 10 for sure, man. This was something that I loved so much. Strongest villain in the MCU for sure. One of the best origin stories. So Shakespearean. They had everything in it, man. It was just the best.
You're forcing me to bump up my score to 10.
No, I'm not forcing you to do
anything.
You are.
It's happened. You twisted my arm, and now I'm at a 10.
This is not one of those things, man. What were you going to rate it at?
That's a 9.5. What's the difference?
There is no difference.
Exactly. So
you
10.
Have your reasons.
No,
because you didn't like the
love story didn't really work for me. I wasn't like.
I mean, to me, it wasn't like I was never looking for this to be a love story.
No. I'm not saying. Oh man, why didn't I? Just was like, yeah. Like I think it's because like when they kiss, I was kind of like, yeah, seems perfunctory. Who cares? Yeah. Whereas if they never kissed, maybe I wouldn't care about it.
Right.
So yeah, the whole like. I like the freeze gag, like that's what she's talking about because like you remember in the commercial, everyone's like, oh, because in Iron Man freezes, and I was like, I don't think that's it.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed that. I was like, don't freeze, I never freeze. And it was like, oh, that's what you're talking about. Yeah. And then when they're making fun of him at the end, it's like, did he freeze like a deer in headlights or something like that?
Yeah, like so that stuff I liked. And this has nothing to do with Lupita Nyong'o because I liked her character. I especially love when her and Okoye are driving and trying to catch Claw too. And she like is just in the seat. I'm like, well, that was handy.
That was really funny to me.
Yeah.
The seat
That's just a great visual. Yeah.
Beautiful.
The second time I saw it, I was like, this is a lot funnier than I remember it being.
Yeah. And that entire car chase scene was awesome.
Yeah.
It was so much fun in the sense where he's like, oh, yeah, I crashed. And then he's just like, no.
And I remember texting you being like, oh, I don't like that he has so much help. And it never came off like that in the movie. Yeah. It was like, because setting up Shuri doing that sets up Everett Ross being able to do the plane stuff later. And it was a good way, a nice subtle thing of like, no, the white guy isn't in there fighting with them, doing what they do. It's like, you've already set up he was a pilot. Yep. They'll just be like, yeah, if you're a pilot, you do your pilot stuff. We're going to go out and save our country. Yep. And I liked that. But there's a bunch of setup moments that pay off that I liked in the movie. Absolutely. And the setup stuff still is interesting to watch. It's not like you're like, oh boy, we really got to slog through this. Yep. Like, it's all stuff that pays off and always feels good in the moment as well.
The other aspect that I loved about this too was just it goes to show how amazing Marvel is at the storytelling standpoint, because they had a lot to accomplish within this movie in the sense, and they accomplished so much more than I originally thought they could, in the sense where I was like, one of my initial biases toward this movie would be, man, what if they spend way too much time developing Wakanda as a country, or like the world within a world kind of thing? If they spent too much time doing the world building stuff and then all of a sudden everything's rushed, that never felt that way whatsoever. And it was
really well
beautiful. It was really well done. You understood everything. You understood the history, the conflict, and all that kind of stuff. Fantastic. So yeah, I'm happy that the first episode back of season 4.
I'm just happy that we get to end on Aquaman.
In 2018 this year? Yeah. Oh no. Oh god.
I'm just looking up because I was a little put off by. Yeah. Okay. Well, yesterday Black Panther was sitting at 7.7 on IMDb, or 7.2, and I was like, that's low.
Oh, I don't care.
It's at 7.7 now.
I don't care. The critical box office. That
88 for Metascore in terms of like actually accredited critics.
So apparently the second best MCU movie scores that they've had, and the sales are just nuts. And
well, I mean, by the time we're recording this, they're saying it might do 200. By the time you're listening to this, we'll know what it did.
They're doing this article that I'm reading, they're predicting 170, and I've heard over 200 million in the opening weekend.
Well, I'm gonna try and help that happen.
Yeah, I definitely am. Like, if I have some time this weekend, I definitely want to watch that again for sure. It was incredible.
I really liked the movie. So yeah, this is the end of our first episode back.
Thank you so much to our home on
Dork Shelf. And if you want to read I do have some stuff posted on Dork Shelf. I talked about 5 reasons you should be excited for Civil War, and then I was happy about that. Yep. And I did review Black Panther for them, so if you wanted, I don't know why you would listen to this and read that, but you could read my non-spoiler review of Dork Shelf, of Black Panther on dorkshelf.com.
Well, I'm hoping that the non-spoiler review led you, the listener, to the podcast.
Yes. And if you want to see, I mean, Ben will be posting stuff. We also have our site, tdfeverything.com. You can see, well, you'll be able to see this episode on dorkshelf.com, but you'll also be able to see past episodes on tdfeverything.com/spoiledrotten. Yep. And we're doing a whole lot of really, really cool stuff for you guys this year. We're not going to shoot ourselves in the foot and tell you exactly what we're going to do, but definitely, I'm definitely going to be contributing a lot more written work to tdfeverything.com. Some of my first posts and everything like that you're going to really, really like, because obviously you guys know how big of a Star Wars fan I am. I've already written episode 9 the way I want it to be, so I'm just going to put the... not the entire script that I've written out, but the kind of the sequences of what I want to happen, what I think should happen, and what I think is going to happen, and advocate for them putting me on board as a writer for Star Wars. Nice. Me and Dan. So and so if you want to tweet at us, we do have a specific Twitter handle, TDF Everything. Mm-hmm. You can also follow Dork Shelf. Yep. It's spelt exactly the way you think, Dork Shelf, and spelt TDF Everything exactly the way you think. My personal is at The Young Guard, not spelt with an O, so TheYungGuard. Yep. You are
DM Platypus.
Yep.
And Instagram is coming very soon.
Excellent. And on Instagram, I'm just YoungGuard.
Yep.
No, you don't have to put the. So yeah, hit us up on all those things. Let us know what you thought of Black Panther. Definitely go to dorkshelf.com, comment there, and subscribe on iTunes. We did submit to Spotify, so if you don't like Apple, you can listen on Spotify.
Yep.
Stitcher.
You're welcome.
Google Play. Radio Public. We're on a bunch of stuff. So go subscribe there and enjoy what we have coming for you in 2018.
Absolutely.
Goodbye.
See you soon.
This has been a TDF Everything production, brah.